Welcome to City Beat. As always, it's a pleasure to talk with James Freed. James, you look great, by the way.
Thank you.
You're healthy and
healthy. New year.
Yeah, no kidding. So this time of year, I talk to you every year in March.
Yep.
And you're gearing up, and I know your budget doesn't start for a few months, but I know you're always planning in advance because you've got ideas that you've been taking throughout the previous fiscal year. So tell us a little bit about your process and what your focus is.
So, like any company, municipalities, there's often like a lot of drivers to the budget, right? And there's normally like 3 or 4 major levers that have real impact on what the budget is. Your capital outlay, what are you going to build? And then it comes to, legacy cost and healthcare costs. Those are like the 3 major differentials in the budget. This year, because of the state of the economy, we have a lot more drivers. Inflation, inflationary goods and services, utility costs are skyrocketing. The utility costs for our wastewater and water plants are exponentially exceeding the rate of inflation. And so those are new pressures that we're factoring in our budget, which we've always had those, but never to the degree that we've had now. Health insurance rose by 17% last year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We expect health insurance to rise again by 17 to 18% this year. That's unsustainable. So we're already working on a plan to make plan changes within our health insurance to reduce costs, to make sure that we can absorb those costs into our budget without having an operational effect on the delivery of services to residents. So we've really gotten a head start in the budget. We've been looking at this since the fall to address some of those pressures that are getting much tougher. But also the capital outlay. We have miles and miles of streets that are going to be redone next year. Water Street will be worked on next year. 10th Street will be worked on next year. A lot of key corridors will be reconstructed. That's important. I mean, if anyone drives down 10th Street right now between the Black River, I mean, it's like the moon landing. Even Water Street has gotten really bad. So
don't take your new car.
Yeah, no. So reconstruction from 13th to 10th on Water Street, complete reconstruction will have to be done. That's a more than $1 million project getting redone. We have some water and sewer work going on. So all of that, we're going to put the puzzle pieces into the budget. One of the big things we have is the canal project. So we are working right now. The canal project was in design phase. Now it's in the bidding stage. So we have contractors who are pulling the bid documents. Bids are due by the end of the month. It is my intention to have a notice to proceed to begin the construction of the canal in mid-April. And so we are developing from the city perspective a whole financial plan to do that. The crux of this is that our 2 townships, Port Huron Township and Fort Gratiot Township, have agreed in a meeting their supervisors that they would help fund $1 million each. So this is going to be a $5 million plus project, $3 million coming from the city, $1 million each from each township. The city is looking at doing a special assessment district for a good chunk of the project. So we have hundreds and hundreds of parcels and along the Black River. And those property owners have come to me and said, hey, I'll pay $200 more a year to get the canal fixed. And so I take them at their word. And so we're working on, it's a pretty reasonable special assessment over a 25-year horizon to pay for the project. So we'll finance the project on a 25-year note. We'll fund the note with the special assessment district and get that canal open this year. It's not just going to be a repair. This is going to be a 100-year fix. This is armoring the Black River Canal, putting a new Tainer Gate, new motorized mechanism. All of that will be completed this year if the townships come to play ball. If the townships refuse to help fund, then the project's dead.
Yeah. So let's talk more specifically, because you went through a lot of details there in a hurry, but so what will the sides, as you're riding in your boat down the canal, what will the sides look like, and then what will it look like when you get up to what I call the gate, I guess, by the lake?
So one of the biggest issue down there is not the gate itself. Like the gate broke, gate fell off. That was a major component of it. The larger issue, the more costly issue, is the erosion on the banks. Yeah. And if we open that canal up, it'll further erode. And remember, we have buildings on each side, and we also have a certain amount of property that we own. Yeah. And once that's eroded, gone, the city has no more property to begin working on that canal and repairing the canal. And so we got to save that. So what it looks like is there'll be seawall up to a certain height, and then from there, which allows the slope ratio, they'll do riprap or armoring, so big stones and all of that from a certain height up. Okay. Right now, the grade is so steep that armoring is not an option all the way down. So they got to build the seawall, get the slope rate, and this is like, we have engineers, you don't want me working on this. We have, this is a layman's term, but we have engineers who are designing this. So the slope ratio will be right to do armoring with the seawall. So when you're going through on your boat, hopefully by middle, end of summer, you'll see seawall armoring and a brand new Tainer Gate. And the Tainer Gate that they're building, which is required by Eagle and the Army Corps, is a 100-year floodgate. So this thing is built 100 times stronger than the last Tanner Gate. So the debris and the damage that caused the last Tanner Gate to fail will not cause this one to fail. It's built for this.
Have you heard at all, you talked about the bid process to the end of March. If you award it in sometime in April, the timeline of how long it takes to do
almost immediately. Mobilization will begin almost immediately.
Okay, so you're asking the companies that bid, if you win the bid.
This thing's shovel ready. I want to give the contract away. I want to begin to work within a week or so. I want machines out there. I want it going right away. I think people are tired of watching nothing happen. I'm tired of driving down there and seeing nothing happen. And so the game changer was, for the first several years, the townships wanted no part in this. Even though hundreds of the parcels who benefit from the repair are in the townships, the vast majority of boaters actually come from Port Huron Township. And Fort Gratiot have a large section of boaters along the river.
Well, the entire Black River on the other side of it is all Port Huron Township.
Correct. And so now the township supervisor told me, hey, we're ready to help participate. Well, that now makes it feasible because, as much as we appreciate the canal, it is not the responsibility of the citizens of Port Huron alone to repair that canal gate.
Agreed.
Because it's a huge part for the boating community, but we have 30,000 people. We probably have 400 or 500 boaters out of 30,000 people. I don't think there's 25,000 people who want their property taxes to go up to pay for the canal gate. And so we have to do what's fair and equitable, and sometimes that's a difficult conversation. And so I think we essentially said this project's not happening without township help. We have waited almost more than 3 years now, and they finally come to the table.
Could the townships not do what, they could do what you're doing? They could look at those Black River, all those properties.
I believe that's what they're going to look at doing.
Makes sense.
It makes sense, and it's the fairest, most equitable way. The people who benefit from the repair will have a small special assessment. Now, we're not going to take the entire loan on a special assessment. I'm not going to sack it to the property owners. I want to make it pretty cost effective. So there'll be a balance there of general fund dollars versus special assessment.
What kind of rate do you get when you go out to get a bond like that over a 20, 25-year period?
So I would say if you're municipal financing, you're probably 100 to 150 basis points lower than the general public.
Okay.
Just because you have the security of government.
Right.
So if you can get a home mortgage at 6.5%, I'm probably going to draw that at 5.25.
Okay, which is very reasonable.
And then if we have a situation in which they drop, after a 10-year maturity, we can refinance. We can refinance those notes, which we did significant refinancing back when the rates got really low. If you remember, a lot of the water and sewer debt in the 90s, that was at like 5.5%, 6.5%, federally subsidized. And back in the 90s, if you got a loan at 6%, that was a pretty good rate. And then we started refinancing at 2.25%. I mean, pretty amazing. So we actually took advantage and refinanced a significant portion of our portfolio to reduce the cost and the ratepayer.
So if Port Huron and Fort Gratiot townships come alongside of the city of Port
Which I think
Huron,
they will. I'm pretty sure they will.
Could they not benefit from the fact this is going to be over time as well? You don't need all of the money up front.
Yeah, this is a 25-year payment plan. Like, we're not going to pay the whole $5-6 million in one physical year. This is a 100-year fix, so financing it over a 25-year horizon makes sense. Just the way we do any other capital bonds for any major project. That way, the lifespan, the taxpayers of today, the taxpayers of tomorrow, and the taxpayers of 25 years from now will pay their fair share.
They're going to benefit through time. So as part of the budget then, you don't have this huge hit, like you're not looking at a $5 million hit.
No.
So you got to amortize that over 25 years.
Which makes it very doable.
So you mentioned one other thing that I wanted to go back to, and that would be health insurance costs. You were right. It is unsustainable to think about 15 to 20% increases year by year. What can you do, or have you looked at self-insure? I mean, what things?
So we are self-insured.
You are
to a $250,000 limit. But what we do is it really comes down to the end user. And so simple things like I raise the copay on going to the ER, and the reason for that, we moved from $100 to $250. And the reason for that is we want you to use urgent care, right? Now, ironically, I got ensnared in my own net because after I changed that, my daughter had 108-degree fever, or 104-degree fever for several hours, which is like big. So
yes, it is.
I run my daughter into McLaren, and I should have gone to urgent care. Honestly, they could have done the exact same thing for $30. So they ended up paying $250. Well, let me tell you something. The next time, I'm going to take her to urgent care. And we have a lot of really good urgent cares in town.
Yes, we do.
In every part of the city, believe it or not. The one over on 10th by Optimus, my wife just went there. Excellent urgent care. Took great care of us for $30. And so, also addressing copays. Visiting the doctors can't be $20 anymore. That has to keep pace with inflation. So I think our employees would rather keep health insurance rates down, reduce the out-of-pocket costs, and then say, hey, if we have to visit the doctor, instead of being $20, it's going to be $40. These are reasonable things to keep health insurance down. So those are the type of plan changes we're making, because I don't believe when health insurance goes up, the taxpayer just eats the cost. That's not fair to the taxpayers. Yeah. There's an onus on the employee and the employer to make reforms to ensure that the employees are paying their fair share and not socking it to the taxpayers. So I'm just not going to do that. I think if you look at what we pay for health insurance on an annual basis, it's half of what the surrounding municipalities are paying. If you look at what Fort Gratiot pays for their employees to have health insurance, it's almost double what we pay. Why? Because we don't give out Cadillac plans. We have a nice Chevy plan. Our health insurance is good. It's a beautiful Chevy plan. We're not giving away taxpayer health care plans on the taxpayer's dime. I don't think that's what the taxpayers want.
Years ago, you addressed legacy costs with some of the changes that you made with the city, and I know you've advised people all over the state in that regard of what you did. How is that impacting positively your budget today?
We wouldn't be able to stay afloat had we not done what we did. We reformed our unfunded liabilities now going on 3 years ago. We did a major transformational change. The employees took major concessions. The employees did $40 million in concessions. $40 million. We closed the pension system to all new hires. We actually bridged down. What that means is we cut retiree health care benefits for the current employees. They voted to do that. They voted to cut their own benefits to bring the city out of financial hardship. I don't think the taxpayers fully know what it's like for those unions to get together and say, okay, folks, we're going to cut our benefits. We're not going to be able to retire the way we thought we were going to be able to because we need to save the city. Our employees did that, which was remarkable. Cities all across the state haven't done that. If you look at the city of Marysville, they were 80% funded. Now their pension fund is 45% funded. They had to raise their millage rate last year just to balance their budget. What are they going to do that next year? And I'm not meaning to throw rocks at Marysville or any other city, but indecision and inaction is a decision. When you observe a crisis or you observe a challenge, there's two things. One, you have to admit we have a problem. So when I went to the citizens of this city and when I went to the mayor and council and said, we have a real financial challenge with our unfunded liabilities, what's the first thing the taxpayers and the council ask? What are you going to do about it? Yeah. Well, the answer to that question becomes very difficult. And that's to take some steadfast leadership and determination and resolve. And to be quite frank, the moral compass to lead when necessary. It would have been very easy for us to hide the problem, to mask the problem, and ride out a timeline until...
Or to leave it for the next city manager down the road.
Hey, listen, that didn't slip my mind. You know, in 2016 and 17, I could have got a job elsewhere and left this problem for the next guy. I think, but the problem is there's a moral issue there. Yeah. To lead and to take ownership of the problem and the challenge. So we did that. I'm very proud of the work we did. We're solvent. Are we flush with cash? No. But having a balanced budget in these days is pretty dang impressive.
Well, frankly, James, you have to look at healthcare and legacy costs like everything else. It has to stay with inflation. Yeah. If it's higher than inflation, if not today, tomorrow and the next day, it's going to continue to be a problem.
Correct, and I think what I'll say is if not only look at the city of Port Huron as a balanced budget, that's one thing. The value proposition. We have better quality parks and recreation than we ever had. We've dumped $13 million into parks and recreation. We've added 3 more police officers to the road, which we are in desperate need for police officers. If anyone wants to be a police officer, come see us.
We can tackle that issue too.
Yeah, we'll put you through the academy. We need good police officers, good firefighters. But our public services are more today, staffed better today than they have in the last decade. We're providing balanced budgets with better value for the taxpayers because of the reforms that we made, and we're very proud of that.
Very good. We'll continue with James Freed as we continue on this program in just a moment.
Lake Huron Medical Center, our dedicated staff are committed to providing comprehensive care that meets your individual needs. We take time to listen to your concerns, understand your needs, and develop a customized treatment plan just for you. Trust in our expertise, experience our compassion, and let us be your partner in achieving optimal health. Visit us today and discover the Lake Huron difference.
Welcome back to City Beat. As always, we're talking with City Manager of Port Huron, James Freed. James, we talked about the budget process. Let's talk about some of the success stories and things that are happening on the south end in the industrial park.
Yeah. So about 2 council meetings ago, the mayor and council signed a purchase agreement with J.D. Donaldson, which is a major development company in the state of Michigan. They build massive industrial facilities. They are building a 230,000 square foot industrial facility on the corner of Dove and 24th. Dove and 27th Street there, and right by Knox Field in South Park. That's going to be home to a company that currently is located in the industrial park. They have about 576 people who work for them, and so this will grow their campus. It will add more jobs and support their facilities already that they're already there. This was a critical attraction project, and the reason why I mean for that is when we're competing with jobs, it's not just China and India. We're competing with Auburn Hills, Tennessee, Ohio, Missouri. And so our concern was if we didn't land this project and this project went elsewhere, it could have served as a magnet to pull the current jobs away from Port Huron. Mm-hmm. And so this wasn't just an attraction project, this is about retaining the 576 good paying jobs that are already in our industrial park. And so this was a critical and important project. We have created now 4,000 new jobs in the city of Port Huron in the last decade. That's a very good thing, but also presents some challenges, meaning we have a lot of unfilled jobs in our industrial park. And we call it the Advanced Manufacturing Technology Park because this is not the old manufacturing job
right.
days of past. These are high technical jobs. There's a lot of technology, there's robots, you go out there and it looks like space age stuff they're doing out there in the manufacturing process now. And so, what I think is important is you have all these new jobs, but I think we want to make sure that the residents of today and the residents of tomorrow have the skills to obtain those jobs, right? So there's nothing more cruel than looking at someone who's unemployed and saying, look, here's a job, and you can't get it because these just minor soft skills, minor skill sets you need to land this job. So if you look at the alignment that has been taking place between Port Huron area schools, RISA, and SC4, they are creating career pathways through STEM programming, through tech programming at RISA. So you have kids right now that are Port Huron High that are in these STEM classes, which really, if you're a mom and dad right now, explore the STEM classes. Yep. It's very important. Not AP classes are for everybody. These STEM classes are just as hard, just as important. These STEM classes transition to these tech programs at RISA, and RISA is curtailing these programs. Of course, you would know this, are curtailing these programs to meet the needs of the job creators, right? So RISA is literally going out to the employers and saying, what skill sets do you need? We can train these kids right now. But not just student learners at a young age, lifelong learners, right? So you have SC4, who's developing programs industry-based for CAD, for manufacturing, to say, hey, what do you need? We can retrain your current workers on the new machines that are coming in. If you need a set of skill sets, we can train workers to get that. So we look at it, you are a student learner, you grow up and go to school and you're lifelong, but I think the model is changing with technology is that you're a lifelong learner. Yeah. You may learn a skill set now, in 10 years, you may have to enroll in a 3-week course or 3-month course at SC4 to up that certification for a new machine that's coming in. But I think, everyone talks about what's the schools doing to prepare students. I think there's a lot going on there, and I tried highlighting that in my State of the City address. I had Theo, our school superintendent, and Kirk Kramer from SC4 to really come in and talk about the alignment that's going on there. And it doesn't make front page news, it's not talked about a lot, but those efforts are well underway, and they're showing very positive results. I mean, I think what's incredible is the wait list at RISA, right? RISA is at capacity. So the demand is insatiable for people who want to learn these skills, who want to learn these job-ready skill sets to leave high school. And I think we have to work with the state on how we onboard more capacity because we have to onboard more workers, get them off the sidelines. Huge component of that is childcare. Again, I addressed this in my State of the City address. I brought in the YMCA. I mean, the YMCA, I'm not a daycare person, but the YMCA is expanding affordable daycare throughout the city. They're partnering with McLaren, the old Jefferson Elementary School. They're going to onboard for new childcare. That's 100 slots of affordable childcare. So you're going to have surgeons' kids going to daycare with a line worker at U.S. Fair thing. I mean, it's really just the great melting pot of America. But onboarding more childcare, because I think there's a lot of people, like my wife, who would love to go back to work, but the cost of childcare, there's a business decision, you got to stay home because it's too expensive. And so there's a lot of folks who want to get off the sidelines, get back to work, but affordable childcare is a huge component of that. Plus with transportation as well. If you look at what's going on with Blue Water Transit, download the Transit app. The amount of technology that Blue Water Transit is putting into their bus lines right now, it's pretty incredible. We are very lucky to have a Blue Water Transit that is just robust. It's there when you need it. But I really think what Blue Water Transit's, their efforts go towards riders of choice. And you and I would be considered riders of choice. I have a car. But if I could go out and there was a bus I knew was coming down the road because there was a GPS tag on it, and it would ping me and tell me my bus is 10 minutes out, I could just walk out there and hop on it, I'd be more apt to use a bus. And so I think the ridership of choice, developing the links, so everything's working together. The buses, the childcare, the education system, we're all trying to make sure folks can get to the job, and have their kids watch safely while they're at the job.
You started out this segment talking about 27th and Dove.
Yeah.
Where does the city limits are kind of
32nd.
bizarre there.
You go to 32nd, the railroad tracks on Dove. Okay. That's the city limits. But what's really exciting is Port Huron Township is building an industrial park themselves. Right across the railroad tracks, they have like 60-some acres. They're going to develop into an industrial park. They're working with a private developer to do that. And so you and I see political boundaries, but the average Joe doesn't.
Right.
We have water and sewer capacity and power capacity that can continue serving down Dove. And whether that manufacturing or job creation is in Port Huron Township or across the railroad tracks, it really doesn't matter because our workers get an opportunity at those jobs. Yeah. So what's good for Port Huron Township, what's good for Marysville and good for Kimball and good for Fort Gratiot is also very good for Port Huron. Yeah. And so we really want to look at, I think the future economic growth is going to be in the townships when it comes to, because we're all built out. I don't have a lot of green space to handle these 200,000, 300,000 square foot facilities. And so we have to partner with our neighbors, and we can help provide them water and sewer and power. What's really important though is like the more water and sewer we sell, economies of scale, it reduces rates for everybody.
Right.
So
we've talked about that with water.
Yes.
Your capacity to serve water all over the county if need be.
Yeah. So our water capacity, we can produce 30 million gallons a day of safe, clean drinking water. On average, on the hottest day in September, we sell about 8.5 million gallons. So we have another 20 million gallons plus that we can sell. So the cost to put the water plant there is a fixed cost. So if I sell 8 million or 20 million, the cost of that water plant doesn't change. So the more commodity water usage that we can sell reduces the cost burden for everybody.
So you can offer it to somebody else and say to your residents, by offering it to somebody else, we can lower everybody's rates.
Yeah, if you're going to build a drinking fountain, you can drink out of it, but you can charge the same up for someone else to drink out of it. The fountain costs the same.
Yeah.
So there's a business case there.
Yeah. When last we spoke, a lot happening at the south end, especially in the Lincoln Park area, and I know there's a new restaurant that's well underway. Talk a little bit about that project.
Yeah, so we have 2 housing developments going on in Port Huron Township. There's Port Huron at South Park. We have a 14-unit duplex row housing, like the Cape Cod row housing style housing. Also, I want to say 9 or 10 single-family homes that are getting constructed as well. Those have been using grant funds to help buy down the purchase price, and we'll offer down payment assistance for folks who want to get into those homes. They'll sell between $150 and $180, which is still pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But if you can offer someone down payment assistance to get those homes, we want to get a lot of people when you knock on the door, you can say, "Welcome to my home." Yeah. And that's the American dream. We can help make that happen, buy down those costs. We work with a lot of great developers who are using state incentives to do that. But that's just one component of the work going on in South Park. There's also the Harvey Center, which is, if you would have told us a year ago that the Harvey Center would be this well used, we have after school programs, theater classes, dance classes. We have a facility which is being rented out for family reunions, for baby showers. I mean, all that's going on down there. It's activated facility now, really truly a community center. But also the commercial work going on. If you look at the Platte One, which is an amazing multi-million-dollar development there, that restaurant is just doing fantastic. You have the Walker Brothers facility, Mahogany Bay, which will be coming on later this year. We also have the Connor Street reconstruction project, which will be announced in the next month or so. That will be done this fall, which will make it more walkway, pedestrian friendly. Just a lot of positive things going on there. I really believe that South Park is the next big thing for Port Huron, which is ironic because that was really the original plat. That is the start of Port Huron with South Park. And so to go back to our roots as a city and to breathe revitalization into that neighborhood and to activate those spaces again and leverage that for economic gain and prosperity, I just think it's kind of a testament to our history.
It really is. So when you drive along either Military or Electric there, and I'm blowing a gasket on the name of the company, the huge cement company, and they had there's a lot of property there.
Yes.
What's happened to that?
So we own that facility now.
You do.
And we are now using it for development. So we are working with the Woda Group, or any developer, to build a 4 to 5 story mid-rise residential development there.
I wondered if you might go residential there.
Yes, it'll be residential, 50 to 65 units of housing there.
Very good.
Yep.
That would greatly improve the look of that property
Well,
as
just think about it. You're someone who could get a really nice 2-bedroom apartment for a very affordable price, and you can walk across the street to a cool restaurant, walk across the other street to the Mahogany Bay.
See the river?
Yeah, you see the river, the views. I mean, there's a lot of potential there. So it's really, I think it's a place where people are going to want to live.
Yeah. As you look forward, I know when I tell people, you're really visionary. You look beyond a year from now. Yeah. What are the things that are in the back of your mind there that you're looking out 2 to 3 to 5 years from now at?
Creating walkable spaces.
Yep.
I think we're overbuilt on infrastructure. I don't think we need all the roads we have. I think if you see the pedestrian corridor that we are building on Bard Street between SC4 and the St. Clair River to truly bridge both ends of that downtown. I think there's need to be more pedestrian pathways throughout the city. I'd like to see a bike path traverse from one end of the city to the other end of the city. We have something similar on 10th. We should expand that. I think if you look at the Dunn Paper site, the railroad tracks there that runs from Dunn Paper all the way across to the Black River, all the way to Port Huron Township. If that line were ever to go out, that'd make a great bike path.
Sure would.
So there are long-term opportunities that we need to identify these potential opportunities now, so that in 5 and 10 years it becomes a real potential. It's already in the master planning phase to onboard that into our plan.
And last topic here, I know SC4 is a primary component of downtown Port Huron.
Yeah.
And it really, I think the last few years, and I know Kurt Kramer has had a focus on that, expansion of housing, student housing.
Yes.
They have really become a centerpiece of what you can do as far as an overall look of downtown Port Huron.
So I think if you look at the partnership with Saginaw Valley that they just announced last week, I think is incredible. So the student housing in downtown is insatiable. People do not want to go off to a 4-year university and go into debt for $100,000. The idea that they can go through Blue Water Middle College. So I got 2 little girls and my babysitter. We have a whole host of babysitters. A vast majority of them are in Blue Water Middle College. And then they transfer to SC4. And by the time they get 1 year in SC4, they already have an associate's degree because they had so many credits when they were in high school. That's amazing. But then the idea that you can get an associate's degree, so graduate from Port Huron High, get an associate's degree within a year, and then without ever leaving town, get an education or business degree from Saginaw Valley State University without ever leaving downtown, without ever having to go into debt. I mean, it's just an amazing feat. And so, and SC4 is free right now. It's for free tuition. So I think it's a real opportunity to have generational transformational change. Education is the key. Getting these kids equipped, getting them a degree or certification without putting them in debt. When I graduated college, I had $89,000 in debt. That took a long time to pay off. Yeah. And so the idea that kids can come up and not have to deal with that burden, I think it's just huge for them. It's a huge opportunity to have that housing, to have the athletics. People don't want to go to a 4-year degree, but they like the 4-year the lifestyle. They like the idea that they can live downtown. They like that they can play baseball or basketball and continue their volleyball program here in SC4. And SC4 just isn't doing athletics. They're doing athletics really well. How many state championships and state finals has SC4 gone to all across every sporting division? Yep. It's pretty remarkable. So SC4, I think that is kind of like our golden goose. I think Kurt Kramer and his team are very strategic. I think if you look at the SC4 board, they're not dumb people. These are savvy business people who are making strategic plans in the future, and I think we're really going to see that play out.
They're a part of who you are in downtown.
They're sharp people. Yeah. Some of the sharpest business people in town are serving on the SC4 board.
Yeah. James, always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
Really glad to hear about the canal project. I don't live on it, but for the people who do, and I'm sure they're glad to hear about this.
Let's hope to God that the townships will come in good faith and make this happen. Nobody wants to do this, but it's a necessity.
Yep, absolutely. James, thank you.
Thanks so much.
And that's a look at City Beat with James Freed. I'm Kevin Miller. Thank you for joining us.